Usually when we talk about consuming a story, there's a very firm boundary.
Right, like a strict line between the creator and the audience.
Exactly. Think about it like dining at a high-end restaurant. You sit down, the chef cooks the meal in the back, the waiter brings it out, and you just eat it.
You're just there to enjoy the final product.
Yeah. I mean, the chef is the creator, and you are the consumer. You might leave a Yelp review afterwards, sure, but you certainly aren't like walking into the kitchen halfway through your main course and telling the chef to add a pinch of salt.
No, absolutely not, because that traditional model is a strictly one-way street. The author creates the universe, and the reader is simply a guest within it.
Right.
And for centuries, that distance was considered essential for artistic integrity.
But then you step into the world of modern romance publishing, and suddenly that kitchen door is just kicked wide open.
Oh, completely. It's a totally different dynamic.
It really is. The diners are literally in the back, tasting the sauce, chopping the vegetables, and voting on what the dessert is going to be. We are looking at a storytelling landscape that has become aggressively collaborative.
It fundamentally rewrites the contract between the writer and the audience. And it begs this really fascinating question about modern media, which is, well, what happens when the fans hold the pen?
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so thrilled you are joining us because today we are heading straight into Swoon City.
Unapologetic Swoon City.
Yes, exactly. Our source material today is a short romance story called Always Ever After by Claire Kingsley.
It's such a great example of this phenomenon.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore the pure, just unapologetic joy of this plot. It leans heavily into domestic bliss.
Very heavily.
But more importantly, we want to unpack the meta-narrative operating behind the scenes. We're going to look at how modern romance authors use direct reader feedback to craft the ultimate, bespoke, happily ever after.
And to really understand the mechanics of this kind of collaborative fiction, we first have to understand the emotional baseline of the story itself.
So let me set the stage for you. Imagine being on a bachelorette weekend at a beautiful mountain resort.
Sounds pretty ideal.
Right. You are there with your best friend, and you are actually soon-to-be sisters-in-law.
Okay, so a very tight bond.
Exactly. Now, your friend thinks she might be pregnant, but she is utterly terrified to take the test.
Oh, that is so stressful.
Yeah, she is spiraling. So, just to be supportive, you agree to take one alongside her. Just pure best friend solidarity.
A classic supportive move.
Right, so the timer goes off, you check the tests, her test is negative, but yours is positive.
It is such a brilliant subversion of expectations. I mean, the inciting incident of the story relies entirely on an accidental, life-altering event.
It is a phenomenal hook, and honestly, it's just a refreshing break to look at how pure joy and romance are constructed in modern fiction. So our two main couples are Braxton and Kylie, and then Selene and Ronan. Now, Braxton and Kylie are already married, they're deeply in love, and their major dramatic arc was already resolved in a previous book.
Which is an important detail.
Yeah, they're rock solid. Braxton's twin sister, Selene, is the one who is about to marry Ronan, and Ronan actually happens to be Braxton's skydiving buddy.
So notice the structural choice the author makes right here at the start. We are entering the narrative during a period of established stability.
Right, which is rare.
Very rare. Usually fiction requires severe external conflict. A villain, a natural disaster, a terrible betrayal.
Something to drive the plot.
Exactly. But here, the conflict is entirely internal and situational. The author is signaling to the reader that this is a safe space. The tension is going to come from anticipation, not trauma.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the women, Kylie and Selene, are at this mountain resort for Selene's bachelorette weekend. They're doing spa treatments, fancy dinners, the works.
But Selene is acting weird, right?
Yeah, she is noticeably anxious. She isn't drinking. And she finally confesses to Kylie that her period is late. She actually brought a pregnancy test, but she hasn't taken it because she's just totally panicked.
And why is she so panicked?
Well, she doesn't know if Ronan is ready for kids. She is super stressed about the impending wedding. She's just paralyzed by the unknown.
Which is completely understandable.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So Kylie, stepping into the ultimate supportive best friend role, says she will take one too, just to make it less scary.
And the source material highlights this as a really profound moment of female friendship. Selene actually likens it to when they were younger, and one of them got their period first.
Oh, yeah, the maxi pad thing.
Yes, the other one wore a maxi pad just so her friend wouldn't feel alone. It roots the high-stakes romance in very grounded, deeply relatable experiences of womanhood.
So they grab tests from different boxes. Selene gets a single blue line. Negative. She is relieved, though the text does note this weird, lingering tinge of disappointment.
Which is a great little seed to plant for later.
Exactly. Then Kylie glances at hers, expecting literally nothing. But it's 2 dark blue lines. Positive.
Oh, wow.
They rush out, buy a mountain of extra tests, and Kylie takes a digital one just to be absolutely certain. The screen blinks pregnant.
The irony there acts as the engine for the rest of the plot. I mean, the woman who wasn't even questioning her status is the one whose life has just fundamentally shifted.
She is utterly shocked. But then she makes a choice that, I have to admit, drives me crazy.
Oh, the secret.
Yes. She decides to keep it a secret. She tells Selene that she doesn't want to ruin the bachelorette weekend. She claims the weekend is all about Selene, and she'll just tell Braxton when they get back home.
It's a very specific trope.
It is, and I hear the reasoning, but I have to push back on this trope. I mean, if my partner hid a pregnancy from me to, quote-unquote, save my weekend, I would be furious.
Most people would be.
Right. Doesn't this noble secret sort of border on toxic communication? Yeah. It feels like an invitation for a massive fight.
Well, in the real world, yes. Absolutely. It would be a severe breach of standard communication. You'd likely pick up the phone immediately.
Right, you'd be dialing before the test even dried.
Exactly. But let's analyze how the noble secret functions as a literary device here. In this specific genre, Kylie's motivation is purely selfless. She wants to protect Selene's moment in the spotlight.
Okay, I see that.
And for the reader, this trope acts as a controlled emotional release valve. We live in a world fraught with genuine relationship anxieties, real betrayals, and malicious secrets.
Sure.
By introducing a secret born out of a surplus of care, the author creates dramatic tension without triggering real-world anxiety for the audience.
So you're saying the readers know Braxton won't be angry, so they can just, enjoy the suspense of it all.
Precisely. Remember that meta-narrative we mentioned earlier? The audience for this short story already read a 400-page novel about Braxton and Kylie falling in love.
Ah, so the trust is already there.
The trust is firmly established. The author isn't trying to make the reader worry about their marriage. She's using the secret like a pressure cooker to just stretch out the anticipation of the reveal. The audience gets to hold the secret with Kylie, savoring the delicious agony of waiting for the hero to find out.
Okay, that makes sense when you put it like that.
Yeah.
So Kylie is bearing the weight of this massive secret at the spa. But the irony is, while she's having a silent internal crisis, we actually transition over to the men.
And they are having a very different kind of weekend.
Very different. Braxton and Ronan are having a bachelor party of their own. And because Ronan is an adrenaline junkie, they are jumping out of airplanes.
A textbook display of traditional masculinity to counter the spa weekend.
Yeah, and the source material provides this incredible juxtaposition between Braxton's rugged, adrenaline-fueled exterior and his unwavering devotion to his wife.
The tavern scene is perfect for this.
It really is. Before the skydive, Braxton is grabbing a drink at the Finney Tavern. An ex-girlfriend of his, Hope, approaches him, and she is clearly giving him the look, aiming for a hookup.
And how does he react?
His internal monologue is fantastic. He is completely unfazed. He leans on the bar, deliberately flashes his wedding ring, and internally just gloats about being the happiest man on earth.
Full of fact.
He even has these secret plans in the works to expand his gym and buy surprise tickets to London for Kylie.
That tavern scene is honestly a masterclass in demonstrating the evolution of the alpha male trope in modern publishing.
How so?
Well, historically, if you think of the bodice rippers of the 1980s and 90s, the alpha male was often brooding, toxic, distant, or just totally emotionally unavailable.
Oh, definitely. The classic I can fix him narrative.
Exactly. The entire plot usually revolved around the heroine attempting to tame him, but the modern romance reader has largely rejected that.
Thank goodness.
Right? Today's alpha, as seen with Braxton and Ronan, is entirely redefined. They retain the physical markers of the traditional archetype. They're physically strong, fiercely protective. They enjoy extreme sports.
Right, they're skydiving.
But they're also highly domestic, fiercely loyal, and emotionally transparent. The tension no longer comes from wondering if the man will commit. It comes from watching a fully committed man navigate external surprises.
It makes for much healthier escapism, honestly.
It really does.
But before we get to the payoff of Braxton finding out, the author throws a giant wrench in the gears. Ronan is at his house, and he happens to glance into the outdoor garbage can.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He spots the empty pregnancy test box that Kylie threw away after taking her follow-up tests. And since Ronan doesn't know Kylie was at the house taking tests with Selene, he logically assumes the box belongs to his fiancée.
It's basically Shakespearean misdirection in a modern suburban setting.
It is. Ronan assumes Selene is pregnant and hiding it from him, and their wedding is only 2 days away. Which leads to my second major point of skepticism here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ronan tells Braxton about the box. Braxton starts worrying about Kylie. The characters are all spinning their wheels in separate corners. Why don't they just talk to each other? We just praised their emotional availability, yet they're stumbling around this completely avoidable misunderstanding.
I completely understand the frustration with that. It's often called the idiot plot, right? Where a single conversation would solve literally everything.
Yes, exactly.
But look at what this specific misunderstanding accomplishes for Ronan's character development. Ronan is a skydiver who has never seriously contemplated having children. If Selene had sat him down and asked him point blank about kids, his initial reaction might have been panic. Or he might have just deflected.
Because he would be put right on the spot.
Exactly. Finding the box forces Ronan to confront the reality of fatherhood in isolation. He has time to process the idea without the pressure of his partner staring at him, waiting for a reaction.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, through this miscommunication trope, the author actually subverts our expectations. Instead of the misunderstanding causing a toxic rift, it triggers an internal breakthrough. Ronan discovers, much to his own shock, that he doesn't want to run away.
Yeah, he actually tells Braxton that a year ago, the idea would have terrified him. But staring at that box, he realizes he is completely on board.
See? The author uses a classic trope, miscommunication, not to break the couple apart for some cheap, dramatic third-act crisis, but to solidify the hero's readiness for the future.
Right.
It is a very deliberate structural choice that prioritizes character growth over melodrama.
Well, that definitely makes the impending collision of all these secrets much more compelling. So everyone converges on the wedding weekend. We arrive at the rehearsal dinner, and the tension is just palpable.
It's so well written.
It really is. The source material uses these incredibly visceral details to ground Kylie's struggle. They are at a family-style Italian restaurant, and the smell of the chicken is making Kylie physically gag.
The poor woman.
She is literally staring at a meatball, just trying to keep her stomach from turning over. And then her father, who uses a wheelchair and has struggled with his health, delivers this deeply moving toast to Selene and Ronan.
Highlighting that overarching theme of family and generational continuity.
Right. Kylie gets caught up in the emotional weight of her dad's toast. She raises her glass and instinctively takes a sip of wine.
Oh.
Panic immediately sets in. She is terrified she might have just harmed the baby, and she spends the remainder of the dinner expertly fake drinking.
These tactile sensory details, the nauseating smell of chicken, the sudden anxiety over a single sip of wine, they are what make the high-concept romance feel authentic.
It grounds it.
It really anchors the sweeping romantic gestures in the gritty reality of early pregnancy. It makes the fantasy feel attainable and real to the reader.
So we finally hit the climax at the wedding reception. It's taking place at this stunning winery. Selene and Ronan say their vows. Everything is picture perfect. But the physical toll of keeping the secret finally catches up to Kylie.
She can't hide it anymore.
No, she can't. While they're out on the dance floor, she is hit with a wave of dizziness and actually has to clutch Braxton's arms to stay upright.
And Braxton is already on edge, right?
He is hyper-vigilant. Because earlier in the week, he accidentally overheard a voicemail on Kylie's phone confirming a doctor's appointment. So he has spent days silently terrified that his wife is seriously ill.
Which raises the internal stakes for him to life or death, making the impending relief all the more explosive.
Exactly. Braxton pulls her away from the crowd into the lobby. He's practically begging her to tell him what is wrong. And Kylie's internal monologue reveals she had crafted this adorable card for him.
Oh, the card.
Yeah, it said, "To my hot DI elf on the front, and you plus me equals 3 on the inside." She wanted to orchestrate this perfect reveal the next day, but the dizzy spell forces her hand.
But the plans are ruined.
Stripped of the props and the plan, she just looks at him and confesses, "I'm pregnant."
Stripping away of the planned perfection usually results in a much more resonant emotional truth anyway.
And his reaction is just pure, unadulterated ecstasy. He is breathless. He pulls her in, buries his face in her neck, and tells her it is the greatest surprise of his life.
He is just radiating joy.
So when they walk back into the reception, the domino effect begins. Selene takes one look at her brother's face and instantly understands. They run to each other and hug, but then Ronan walks over.
The man who has spent the last 48 hours psyching himself up to be a father.
Ronan is completely lost.
Yeah.
He asks why everyone is cheering for Kylie when he found the pregnancy test box in his own trash.
Awkward.
Very. Selene has to unpack the entire mix-up from the bachelorette party, and this leads to arguably the most poignant moment of the story. Ronan isn't relieved that he dodged a bullet. He is genuinely, visibly disappointed.
Which is so touching.
He looks at Selene, his wife of barely an hour, and tells her that thinking she was pregnant made him realize how desperately he wants to have a baby with her.
It is an incredibly elegant resolution. Kingsley takes the chaotic energy of a farce and distills it into a moment of profound vulnerability for the secondary couple.
It works so well.
It pushes Ronan and Selene's relationship forward, proving that the miscommunication wasn't just a cheap plot device. It was an actual catalyst for their mutual desire to start a family.
So we get the wedding, the big reveal, and the happy tears. The narrative could easily end there and be satisfying, but we get a massive time jump to the epilogue.
Yes, the epilogue.
And this is where the meta-narrative we touched on at the very beginning takes center stage. Let's look at this epilogue. We are in a hospital room. Kylie has survived a grueling labor. Braxton is sitting in a recliner, shirtless, doing skin-to-skin contact with not one, but two babies.
Twins, a boy and a girl.
Boy-girl twins.
And
They name them Henry Dean, honoring Kylie's dad and Braxton's parents, and London Rose, paying homage to the city where they got engaged.
It is the absolute maximum level of sentimental perfection.
But the author delivers one final twist. While Braxton is soaking in this profound moment of fatherhood, the hospital room door opens. Selene and Ronan walk in. They hand Kylie a gift bag containing two tiny onesies that read, "I love my cousin."
The narrative loop closes perfectly. Selene is now pregnant as well.
It feels almost too perfect, you know? It is the exact scenario a devoted fan would daydream about. And if we dive into the author's note at the very end of the source material, Claire Kingsley actually pulls back the curtain on why this epilogue feels so specifically tailored.
Right, because it was.
She reveals that this entire story only exists because the readers of her previous books demanded it. They refused to let Braxton and Kylie go.
This brings us back to the shifting dynamics of the modern publishing ecosystem. Kingsley isn't writing in an isolated garret hoping her work resonates. She is operating in a continuous, active dialogue with her consumers.
Yeah, she maintains a private Facebook reader group called Alpha Ever After. When she decided to write this extended epilogue, she didn't just sit down and guess what the fans might enjoy. She went straight to that Facebook group and ran a poll.
Directly asking the audience.
She explicitly asked her readers, should Braxton and Kylie have a boy or a girl? And the community overwhelmingly voted for boy-girl twins. Kingsley notes that her original plan was just a single baby girl, but she pivoted. She wrote the twins because the readers essentially ordered them off the menu.
The economics and psychology behind this direct-to-reader publishing model are just fascinating. In traditional publishing, the author was an untouchable figure, and marketing a book was a massive financial gamble.
Right, you never knew what would hit.
Today, platforms like Facebook groups and direct mailing lists provide instantaneous feedback. From an economic standpoint, writing directly to the desires of a highly engaged group guarantees sales. You are entirely eliminating the guesswork of market research.
It's kind of like a modern, interactive choose-your-own-adventure book, but the fans are acting as a collective co-author.
Exactly.
But I have to ask, doesn't this level of fan service risk diluting the art? If an author is just writing what a Facebook poll dictates, do we lose the artistic friction that makes literature challenging and memorable?
That is the central debate of modern genre fiction, for sure. However, romance as a genre has always had a unique psychological contract with its audience.
What do you mean?
Readers come to romance specifically for emotional regulation and guaranteed payoffs. They know what emotional beats they require to feel satisfied. By crowdsourcing the gender of the babies, Kingsley isn't necessarily compromising a grand artistic vision.
Okay, I see.
She is acknowledging that the characters, Braxton, Kylie, Selene, Ronan, they serve as a safe, joyful escapism for her community. Delivering a bespoke, highly customized happily ever after builds an unparalleled level of loyalty.
Because you aren't just buying a book anymore. You feel a sense of ownership over the universe. You are deeply invested in Henry Dean and London Rose because you essentially clicked a button and voted them into existence.
Yes. And practically speaking, the author's note mentions her next book will focus on Ronan's assistant, Sarah.
Planting the seed for the next release.
Right. By giving the fans exactly what they wanted with Braxton and Kylie, she ensures that her built-in, highly engaged audience will follow her to the next release. They'll be hunting for more glimpses of the world they helped shape.
It is brilliant marketing wrapped up in a deeply emotional gift to the fans.
It really is.
So, to summarize our journey today for you listening, Always Ever After delivers on its promise as a light, romantic read. It is packed with swoon-worthy moments, an evolved take on devoted alpha males and fierce best friend solidarity.
Definitely.
But beneath that sweet domestic surface, it also serves as a masterclass in modern publishing economics. It shows us how the relationship between creator and consumer has evolved into a highly lucrative, emotionally resonant collaboration.
It challenges the old notion that great art must always surprise or challenge the audience. Sometimes delivering exactly what the community asks for elevates the emotional resonance of the story to a level that solitary writing simply cannot achieve.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought to leave you with today. In an era where fans can use Facebook polls to directly dictate the lives, the children, and the ultimate destinies of fictional characters, at what point does a character stop belonging to the author who created them and start belonging entirely to the community?
That's the big question.
Does getting exactly what we ask for ruin the surprise of storytelling? Or is this collaborative, fan-driven universe the true future of fiction? Think about that restaurant we discussed at the very beginning. If the diners are standing in the kitchen writing the recipe alongside the chef, whose meal is it really?
And maybe, just maybe, it tastes better because we all cooked it together.
A phenomenal question for anyone invested in the future of storytelling. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the collaborative, swoon-filled world of modern romance. Until next time.